Hi guys, welcome back to the Casual Watch Review channel. So today I've got what I hope will be a pretty interesting upload for everyone, especially if you're a Seiko fan. I'm kindly joined by Chris from Everyday Mastery.
Thanks, Sam.
Check him out on Instagram. Also, a couple of weeks ago, we did a full collection review of Chris's watches. Fascinating, some great Bell & Ross watches in there.
Yeah, had fun with that.
A couple of weeks ago, I did a state of my own watch collection. And I talked about my Seiko Turtle, my Save the Ocean Seiko Turtle, which is here. At the time, I mentioned how I wasn't happy with the way that the watch was performing. I'd already sent it to 2 watch modders to see if I could get it more accurate. We also changed the crystal and changed the hands. And I know a couple of you in the comments section weren't very happy about the comments I made about Seiko. What I thought I would do is Chris kindly reached out to me at a local watch meetup called OC Chrono, and we talked through whether we could make a turtle that was the ultimate turtle for me. Like, could you regulate a Seiko watch to be as accurate as a Swiss watch? And could you improve all of my perceived deficiencies with the Seiko Turtle itself? So lack of sapphire crystal. Also, I wasn't crazy about the hands. And just a little caveat here, I'm not a professional watchmaker. Chris isn't a professional watchmaker. We are passionate hobbyists like a lot of you at home. So we're going to go through all 4 stages of how we created the ultimate turtle. And if you stick around till the end, I'm actually going to break down all of the costs. And I think you'll be pretty amazed about how much money it took to get to this stage. Some of it unnecessary, but I think you'll find this really interesting. So stage 1 was where I sent this watch off to 2 separate watch modders. My original intent was that all of this could be done by one watch modder. So I reached out to a guy who had modded my previous Seiko SKX009, and I wanted him just to regulate the movement, replace the crystal, and also put hands on it which were replicas of the ones that came on the original Seiko Turtles, which I thought would look amazing, and they didn't quite look amazing, did they?
Yeah.
The watch was running plus 20 seconds a day fast, and this original watch modder was quite reluctant to regulate it, and we know why, because
yeah. I mean, part of the reason is it takes time. It's a patient process, as we'll go through here.
Now, I bought this watch off eBay, so I sent it off to this original watch modder, and it only took a couple of weeks. He did a great job of replacing the crystal. He put the new hands on. I think he had a good go at regulating it, but it had a lot of beat error. The watch wasn't running well at all. Also, he put those original hands on. Now, when I saw them on the watch, they didn't look right. I thought they were going to look cool, and they didn't look right. So then it came back, and I approached a second watch modder. This guy is quite well known, I'd say, in the modding scenes. That didn't go as smoothly as I hoped. I'd sent him, I used an app on my phone which showed it was basically a time grapher on, so I know this isn't like 100% accurate. This is like a watch time, and you use the headphones from your phone. He agreed that the movement was probably beyond regulation or beyond repair. He offered to replace the movement. So I sent it off to him. He replaced the movement. Now, this whole process took a long time. It took in excess of 10 weeks. Unfortunately, when I tried to chase it, I only chased it twice during this time. He obviously had a lot on his plate, and it wasn't as a friendly interaction as I'd hoped. Anyway, I received the watch back. He'd replaced the entire movement, and at that time, he asked whether I wanted a Seiko movement in it or a TMI movement, and I opted for the TMI one. I find that the NH35A, this time he put an NH36A in it, they just run better. He regulated it, and the beat error was completely gone, with the exception of it was running 14 seconds fast. That's when I made my collection review video, talked about it being fast, and I wasn't really happy with that. I'm not expecting like Kosk, but I wasn't happy with this speed. Now, I met Chris at a local OC Chrono event, and we really sat down and talked about whether we could make the ultimate turtle for me. Stage 2 was Chris opening the watch up, replacing the hands. Now, I got these hands from DLW website. They are Marine Master hands, but they didn't look quite right. I went with the shiny ones.
Right.
And they didn't look right. There was just kind of too much shine there.
You know, it's tough. You'll notice that the price of these things, $20, $50, you know, you get what you pay for. But it's important to try to figure out, like, look at the community and find out, you know, who's got these really good hands. And I think, Sam, this basically happened where, you know, you got a set, they went on fine, they fit great, they just weren't quite what you were looking for.
Thank you for all the other watch modders that actually reached out to me after that collection review. So big thanks to everyone that reached out to me. But Chris actually lives very close to me, so it was an excellent opportunity to film this so you could see it. So let's just talk through that process. So you originally disassembled the watch. Right. We put the new hands on it, and then you went into regulating it. Right. Now, I thought regulation was going to be a fairly easy process. You put it on a time grapher, you move it within the variants that you want, but it took you quite a few hours that first time.
Yeah, the regulation process, you've got that plus minus that you can speed up the watch, slow down the watch. Well, there's some other levers there that you're told not to touch. Well, those other, you know, levers control the beat error and can affect the directional stability of the watch. So what's interesting is how quickly, and I think, Sam, you definitely saw it, it goes from data of how many seconds it's off to absolute art form to try to get a watch into regulation. Some of the stuff we talked about is how we put it on the time grapher, and I was dialing it into the time grapher, but the time grapher is just a single snapshot of what the watch is doing at that very moment. You might have 0 seconds dialed down, but then you'll flip it over in another direction and it'll be completely different. The idea is to sort of work out what the average is going to be, but that's not it. Still going to need to wear it. And you took it from there. We got it pretty close.
Yep.
And then you were excited because we took it from there, and then you reported back that wearing it, you were seeing...
It was about -5 seconds a day. This answers that interesting question. Can you get a Seiko movement as accurate as a Swiss movement? Really, a Swiss movement is, you can regulate it in multiple positions, and it kind of keeps that regulation quite tight. Whereas a Seiko movement, they're mass-produced, they're not regulated when they come out of the factory. Right. You were getting swathes of different readings based on the position. So that was quite interesting for me to find out.
You could have a watch that, if you're wearing it every day, be +2, -2, really in that cost certification sweet spot. We could pop it over here on the time grapher, and I could see 0 dial down. I could see 4 or 5 seconds in another position. I could see as much as maybe 8 seconds, crown up, something like that. The tool allows you to sort of see a snapshot of what it's doing, but really it's what is it going to do while wearing it. And that's a perfect point. You know, so when you're buying a Swiss watch, they're manufacturing to I think a tighter tolerance. Yeah. And I don't, you know, and I love Seiko, and I think Sam loves Seiko, but you know, Swiss movements are mass produced, but I think that their tolerances for accuracy are out of the box tighter. I see the same sort of thing when I have the movements on the bench here. A Swiss movement versus a Seiko movement. Doesn't mean they can't function as accurately, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to get one that is that accurate. But it means that there needs to be a little more work put into it. And again, we're talking about a $300 dive watch.
Yeah, and I was completely realistic about this, and we also weren't in a rush. With Chris living close to me, we decided that we would leave at least 5 days in between the times that we regulated it, and I would wear it normal use and keep a log on my phone using a time recording app. Now, the third stage, we put on the third set of hands, really high quality replica Marine Master hands that I bought from Europe. So big thanks to Steve, one of the subscribers, who pointed me in that direction. Once we put the hands on, regulated the watch again, and we got it to about -4 seconds, I would say. We then pressure tested it, and Chris has got an awesome homemade watch pressure testing system that he's made. So do you want to just talk a bit about that?
Yeah. So traditional watchmaker pressure testers, the old school ones, were a tank that can be filled with half water, half air. And what watchmakers would do was hang your watch inside there, pressurize the tank, and then dunk the watch into the water and see if bubbles come out after releasing the pressure on the tank. So the idea is you get some high pressure air into the chamber. If your watch is leaking, that high pressure air goes into the watch. And then if you put it in the water and release the pressure, that high pressure air is going to come out of the watch, which seems terrifying. But that's how it was done. Nowadays, how it is done is modern pressure testers actually fire a laser or a light at the surface of the crystal and can actually see the deformation of the crystal under pressure. So just that tiny little amount of change. So we don't have access to a laser pressure tester, but we do have access to some air from the garage, and that's exactly what we did.
Yeah, now this was very scary for me because we pressurized my watch once we sealed it up, and we used the silicone grease, so we've got that proper seal. And then Chris has made a pressure tester out of a water filter, which was really interesting for me to see because they are a high pressure device.
Yep.
And then we did that, we dunked it in a glass of water. Now this was the kind of heart sort of stopping moment for me because if there was any bubbles, then that would have meant that water was ingressed in there. The watch is rated to 200 meters, but obviously we couldn't exert 200 meters worth of pressure on it.
Right. So these pressure vessels, they take like 125 psi max, which is about 70 meters of water resistance. I think 70 meters of depth is a good range because that's past where you would recreationally dive. It doesn't test it to its true 200, but you could always bring it to a watchmaker with one of those special pieces of equipment to test it to that level.
So what PSI did we use to get it to?
So it was about 100 PSI.
Then we dunked it in the water, and you'll see footage of that now. Thankfully, it was watertight to the 70 meters, and then I wore it for an entire week, and now we've just finished stage 4, which is the final stage of creating the ultimate turtle, which is the final regulation, the sealing the watch up again, the final pressure test, and I think you guys will be very impressed with how we've regulated the watch. And now I can say that I am more than happy with this. But I just wanted to talk about how long this has taken. This isn't a simple process. So first of all, I'm going to show how much it cost me for the original 2 watch modders to work on it. So this was watch modder 1 and this was watch modder 2. So already I'm into this watch for quite some money. Chris, thankfully, has provided his services for free. So we estimated Chris's time, that's not with me driving to Chris's house or Chris driving to my house, around 5 hours solidly working on this watch. Then let me show you the parts. So the sum total, I'll now add this to the bottom. This is how much it's cost me, including the Uncle Seiko bracelet I've added on there as well, how much it cost me to create this ultimate turtle.
Right, yeah, that's a big number.
That is a big number. A big thanks to Chris for all the time that you spent on that. Yeah. Hopefully you find this upload interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below of what we've done. Maybe we'll do a series of videos where we try and regulate or work on Seiko watches, or maybe we'll get even cheaper watches and see whether we can work on them. As always, guys, I appreciate you watching. You can contact me on any of these social media links. You can contact Chris on his Instagram. As always, appreciate you watching. I guess we'll see you both next on the Casual Watch Review channel. Thanks, guys. Bye.